The semilunar valves, the pulmonic and aortic, prevent backflow after blood has exited the heart. The pulmonic valve has three cusps that open out into the pulmonary trunk, while the aortic valve opens out into the aorta. These valves can be leaky or regurgitant and narrowed or stenotic for various reasons. Did you know? One of the main causes of a narrowed mitral valve or mitral stenosis is having rheumatic fever in childhood. Rheumatic fever is a disease that starts with a strep throat infection. Some people will have a strong immune reaction to the bacteria, leading to an inflamed valve. Over the course of several years, the valve gets scarred. This valve will narrow over time, causing mitral valve stenosis years later. It's a good reason to take antibiotics for strep throat. Both of these semilunar valves are similar, having 3 leaflets or cusps each. Each forms a tiny cup facing the outflow part of the valve called the sinuses. In the aorta, for example, 2 of the 3 sinuses have openings for the coronary arteries. Both the left and right coronary arteries come off the aorta directly through sinus openings, as shown. You can imagine why these cusps are helpful. As blood pushes back on them after leaving the heart, the cusps catch the blood and are forced to close as a result. Heart wall structure. The heart wall has 3 known layers, each of which has a specific function. From the inside to the outside, you'll find the endocardium, myocardium, and epicardium. Let's look more closely at each. The endocardium is the layer on the inside of the heart wall, lining the wall itself as well as the valves. It is made from connective tissue with an overlying layer of epithelium, very similar to the layer that lines each of the blood vessels. You might not think it is essential, but it helps during development and afterwards helps regulate the way the heart contracts. This is the endocardium and other cardiac wall layers. Endocarditis means inflammation of the endocardium. Many things can cause it, but a common one is a bacterial infection. Bacteria will settle on the valves because blood flow is turbulent in those locations. This can be dangerous because they can form tiny clusters of blood clots and bacteria called vegetations. These vegetations and clots can break off, causing them to travel to other areas of the body. In the worst cases, the person can have a stroke if the clots travel to the brain or other areas and cause permanent death to an organ or tissue. There is a thin layer beneath the endocardium itself called the subendocardial layer. It is essentially an attachment point for the endocardium to connect to the heart's myocardium or muscle layer. You'll see later that some of the main conducting nerve fibers in the heart travel in this sublayer. This means that damage to this particular layer can affect the electrical activity in the heart. The myocardium is very thick with involuntary muscle fibers specific to the heart called cardiac muscle fibers. Interestingly, they are linked together through connections called intercalated discs, even though they are small individually. These are necessary for the cells to communicate with one another rapidly, so the cells can act in a synchronized way. With the heart muscle especially, you wouldn't want these cells to go rogue and do their own thing. This would lead to chaos and an inability for the heart to work as a unified unit. This is why the heart muscle is referred to as a syncytium, even though it really isn't one. A true syncytium is a group of cells that have actually fused. The myocardium isn't made from fused cells, but they communicate easily with one another because of the intercalated discs, and so are a functional syncytium. This is what they look like. Just outside this muscle layer is the subepicardial layer. It is essentially the connective tissue that attaches the myocardium to the epicardium of the heart. The epicardium is the outer layer of the heart wall. It is the same thing as the visceral pericardial layer, and is what makes the pericardial lubricating fluid. When you think about the pericardium and its layers, you should recognize that they don't surround the heart. Instead, imagine that the pericardium is a big deflated parachute that drapes over all the surfaces of the heart. So there is the illusion of it surrounding the entire organ, even though embryologically it just began by draping over the heart muscle during development. It explains why there is a thin layer inside and a tougher layer outside.